It moves through your veins completely unnoticed. High blood pressure quietly damages your cardiovascular system over decades without a single symptom. When your doctor finally points out those rising numbers, the immediate instinct is to look for an exit ramp. Nobody wants to start a daily pharmaceutical routine if they can solve the problem in the produce aisle instead. The science supports that instinct. Clinical studies consistently prove that specific whole food compounds, like potassium, flavonoids, and L-citrulline, measurably relax blood vessels and reduce arterial stiffness. But a significant disparity exists between casually tossing a superfood into your grocery cart and consuming the specific volume required to trigger a physiological response. Look at the data comparison here. Generic lifestyle advice usually yields broad, modest improvements over time. But targeted clinical food trials show highly specific drops, like an exact 6.35 mmHg of mercury reduction, when participants hit precise daily dietary targets. Replicating those clinical drops at home requires strict inputs. Hitting those active thresholds often demands hundreds of extra calories, premium grocery budgets, or significant daily food prep. We are auditing the 8 most clinically studied blood pressure foods for their return on ingestion. We need to map out not just what works in a lab, but the actual metabolic and financial costs required to sustain those habits for a healthier heart. This chart maps clinical evidence on the vertical axis against daily friction on the horizontal. Starting with liquid interventions, 100% orange juice lands high on impact, but pushes far right for friction. 500 milliliters daily delivers a 6.35-point drop, but consuming half a liter of fruit juice every day forces a metabolic trade-off. You are introducing a substantial daily load of fructose and calories. If you don't aggressively cut carbs elsewhere, that sugar intake can trigger weight gain and blood sugar spikes, negating the heart benefits. Watermelon is our next liquid intervention. It acts as a powerful natural vasodilator because it's rich in L-citrulline, an amino acid your body uses to widen arteries and let pressure drop. The friction here is logistical. Watermelon is highly seasonal, and you have to consume a large physical volume of the fruit, either cubed or blended into juice, to reach clinical L-citrulline levels. Liquid interventions offer specific, measurable physiological benefits, but their hidden metabolic costs and volume requirements make them a risky daily strategy if you aren't strictly tracking your overall calories. Shifting our focus to foods that require a heavier wallet, we have the premium add-ins. Blueberries and oily fish, like salmon and mackerel, plot high for clinical impact. The input requirements are manageable. Studies show measurable reductions in hypertension risk from eating just 1 cup of blueberries per week or by consuming oily fish twice weekly. The cardiovascular outcomes are potent. These foods deliver concentrated doses of omega-3s and anthocyanins. These compounds directly reduce arterial stiffness and lower diastolic pressure by fighting inflammation in the blood vessels. The major trade-off is financial. Sourcing fresh, out-of-season berries and wild-caught oily fish acts as a recurring tax on your weekly grocery bill. Walnuts belong in this premium category as well. They require regular daily consumption to deliver their plant-based omega-3s and maintain those diastolic benefits. Walnuts carry a dual burden, a high price tag and extreme caloric density. You have to actively budget your daily macronutrients to accommodate these fats, or you risk gaining abdominal weight over time. Premium add-ins have rock-solid clinical backing, yet their cost and density make them vulnerable to long-term diet abandonment the moment your budget or your discipline tightens. Finally, we land on the most accessible category, the budget staples. Lentils and plain yogurt are low-cost options that push high into the behavioral friction zone. The required input here is habitual. You have to swap out your standard refined carbohydrates for a serving of lentils and commit to eating 3 servings of plain dairy daily. The physiological results are significant. You get a systemic influx of potassium, magnesium, and calcium, which review studies associate with a 13% lower risk of developing high blood pressure over time. The primary trade-off for lentils is labor. They require actual meal prep, cooking time, and a genuine willingness to integrate them into your daily recipes as a staple ingredient. For yogurt, the friction is a palate adjustment. You have to train yourself to eat plain, unsweetened dairy every day without the added sugars that cancel out the health benefits. We can also add pears here, a low-cost, high-fiber fruit that specifically targets pulse pressure in adults dealing with metabolic syndrome. These budget staples offer a high nutritional return on your dollar, but you only get that return if you are willing to overcome the daily friction of cooking and changing your taste preferences. The data is clear. You do not need to eat all 8 of these foods to see results. Success is dictated by what you can sustain for months. Let's map these foods to the reality of your lifestyle. First is the pre-hypertensive pragmatist. You have a warning from your doctor, and you need proven impact right now to avoid a prescription. Your protocol is the 100% orange juice trial and oily fish twice a week. These deliver the most specific, measurable physiological drops documented in the research. But remember your trade-off. You must cut calories and sugar elsewhere to afford the metabolic load of that daily juice. Next is the time pour optimizer. You want the heart benefits, but you refuse to do complex meal prep. Your zero prep protocol is keeping walnuts at your desk for snacking and swapping your normal breakfast for plain, unsweetened yogurt. You ensure a high mineral influx to relax your blood vessels with zero cooking required. Finally, the budget-conscious evaluator. You need high systemic health without the premium grocery tax. Your protocol relies on daily lentils and seasonal watermelon. Together, they tackle your plant protein, magnesium, and potassium needs simultaneously on a tight budget. Keep in mind, this is an analysis of nutritional data, not a substitute for prescribed blood pressure medication. Always consult a physician before making significant changes, especially if you have an existing cardiovascular condition. Treating food as medicine requires understanding that every clinical benefit comes with a practical cost. True cardiovascular health is built on the daily trade-offs you can actually sustain.